When you open your refrigerator today to grab a quick late-night snack, have you ever wondered what your ancestors actually ate to survive? To find the answer, we must rewind the biological clock of human history back 3 million years, to a brutal and unforgiving primeval wilderness. 3 million years ago, our primitive ancestors were not the heroic, apex hunters we often fondly imagine in popular textbooks. They were actually small, weak scavengers, constantly running in fear from massive, deadly predators that ruled the ancient food chain. They spent their long days patiently waiting for apex predators to finish eating, leaving behind nothing but picked clean bones. But our ancestors possessed two unique evolutionary advantages: highly dexterous hands and the intelligence to utilize basic stone tools. While other animals could only look at the bare bones in frustration, early humans forcefully smashed the thick marrow bones open. Inside, they discovered bone marrow, an incredibly rich, concentrated source of pure fat and high energy in a starving world. This dense, fatty marrow and brain tissue provided the critical calories necessary to fuel the growth of a larger, more advanced brain. When animal carcasses were unavailable, they sustained themselves on a steady, diverse diet of wild insects, larvae, and crawling bugs. These creepy insects provided an abundant, reliable source of high-quality protein and essential minerals that required zero hunting risks. In the harsh economy of the ancient wilderness, fat was the ultimate currency, a rare substance that literally meant the difference between life and death. Every single day was a desperate, exhausting race to find enough leftover calories before their own bodies ran entirely out of fuel. They followed the paths of insects and the calls of vultures, mapping the landscape through the urgent lens of starvation. The constant, underlying threat of hunger was the primary force that shaped their daily behaviors and sharpened their survival instincts. They dug into the hard earth for bitter roots and wild tubers, spending hours chewing raw, fibrous plant matter. Their strong jaws and large molars were specifically adapted to grind down tough, raw vegetation for minimal caloric returns. Because the food was completely raw and difficult to digest, their bodies required a massive, energy-expensive digestive tract to process it. When seasonal droughts or fierce storms hit the savanna, their fragile food sources would instantly vanish for weeks. During these dark periods of scarcity, their biological systems slowed down dramatically to preserve every precious ounce of stored fat. For nearly 2 million years, this slow, scavenging lifestyle remained the unchanging baseline of early human existence. Sharing these highly prized, hard-won scraps of fat inside their small bands fostered the very early seeds of human cooperation. The tool was not a weapon of war, but a key that unlocked a hidden treasury of nutrients inaccessible to any other creature. This unique diet of marrow and brains set our ancestors on a completely separate evolutionary trajectory from all other primates. But they were still entirely at the mercy of raw nature, waiting for a miraculous spark that would change their destiny forever. The ultimate evolutionary breakthrough occurred approximately 1 million years ago, buried deep within the soil of Wonderwork Cave in South Africa. Here, scientists uncovered the earliest, undeniable evidence of a miracle: the deliberate, controlled use of fire by human hands. By placing raw meat and tough roots directly over hot coals, our ancestors invented the revolutionary art of cooking. Cooking effectively functions as a form of external pre-digestion, breaking down tough collagen fibers and neutralizing deadly pathogens. Cooked food became remarkably soft, requiring significantly less chewing time and making nutrients far easier for the body to absorb. Because the stomach spent less energy digesting food, the human gut shrank over generations, releasing vital energy to fuel an expanding brain. The advent of cooking sparked a literal metabolic revolution, transforming the physical shape and intellectual capacity of our species. The campfire became the very first social hub, drawing individuals together after dark, fostering language, storytelling, and deep bonding. Hard, toxic starches that were previously completely inedible suddenly became rich, sweet sources of readily available glucose. Our ancestors were no longer spending their entire day chewing raw fibers, giving them free time to think, plan, and create. Fire also acted as an impenetrable shield, driving terrifying predators away and turning the dark, dangerous night into a safe haven. The mastery of this chemical element shifted the balance of power in the natural world permanently in favor of humanity. Our biology became fully codependent on cooked food, We became the only animal on Earth that literally cannot survive without fire. The high-calorie yield of cooked meals allowed infants to be weaned earlier, accelerating reproduction rates and expanding population sizes. Each spark that rose from those ancient hearths carried the future of human civilization, culture, and technological innovation. The ritual of sharing a cooked meal became deeply woven into our psychological DNA, a sacred act of community. With better brains and more energy, our ancestors began engineering sophisticated hunting weapons, stepping out of the scavenger niche. As the climate shifted and ice ages gripped the planet, cooked food allowed humans to survive in freezing, hostile northern climates. The physical remnants left in ancient caves are silent testaments to a time when humanity completely rewrote the laws of biological evolution. Armed with the power of fire, our ancestors were finally ready to transition into the golden age of elite apex hunters. By 300,000 years ago, early Homo sapiens had evolved an incredibly rich, diverse, and robust hunter-gatherer diet. Their impressive menu now included giant megafauna like woolly mammoths, wild bison, rapid reindeer, and abundant rivers of fresh fish. This heavy protein intake was perfectly balanced by gathering wild roots, crunchy seeds, seasonal nuts, and colorful wild berries. But the ultimate prize, the most highly coveted treasure in the prehistoric world, was wild, pure honey. Honey represented an unparalleled explosion of pure, instant calories, sending a massive wave of pleasure straight to the hunter's brain. This deep prehistoric obsession explains exactly why our modern brains are still heavily hardwired to fiercely crave sweet sugar. In the wild, sugar meant quick, vital energy, and fat was an elite insurance policy designed to keep you alive during the next winter famine. Today, the modern food industry meticulously exploits these ancient survival programs, creating hyper-palatable. We are currently living in a modern world of extreme abundance, but our ancient biology is still operating in a state of constant prehistoric scarcity. The hunter-gatherer diet was remarkably healthy, providing a massive spectrum of nutrients that kept our ancestors lean and powerful. They consumed hundreds of different plant species throughout the year, far more diverse than the limited grains we consume today. Diseases of modern luxury like obesity, diabetes, and heart disease were virtually non-existent in these early nomadic populations. They moved continuously with the changing seasons, a dynamic lifestyle perfectly synchronized with the natural rhythms of the earth. Their deep botanical knowledge was unparalleled. They knew exactly which plant could heal a wound and which could provide quick energy. Every meal was directly connected to a profound understanding of their immediate environment and a deep respect for the animals they killed. They were the masters of track and shadow, capable of chasing prey for days through sheer, unmatched physical endurance. The intense sweetness of honey remained a rare, divine luxury, a celebratory feast that united the entire tribe in joy. Our modern supermarket aisles are nothing but artificial simulations of the ancient foraging grounds our ancestors walked for millennia. Their art and mythology were deeply anchored in the food they ate, celebrating the sacred cycle of life, death, and nourishment. But as we dig deeper into the archaeological records of our ancestors, we find bizarre, dark dietary secrets that challenge our modern morality. In the cold, dark depths of Goofus Cave in England, scientists unburied a series of gruesome secrets dating back 14,000 years. They discovered numerous human bones that had been systematically cleaned, carved up, and completely broken open to extract the fresh marrow. Most shockingly, the top of the human skulls had been meticulously crafted into smooth drinking cups, a process requiring extreme care. As the surrounding forest was abundant with wild animals, this cannibalism was likely a sacred ritual rather than a desperate act of starvation. Another bizarre, unsettling practice was the deliberate consumption of high-grade rotten meat, a widespread strategy among ancient groups. Ancient humans frequently buried their fresh kills deep into freezing mud or cold bogs, intentionally leaving the meat to slowly putrefy. This heavily decomposed meat actually became remarkably tender, far easier to digest, and exceptionally rich in vital vitamin B complexes. This ancient preference for controlled rot is the direct cultural ancestor of our modern fermented delicacies. Cannibalism in the ancient world was often a profound way to absorb the strength, memory, and spiritual essence of a deceased tribal member. The boundary between a horrific crime and a sacred religious ritual was entirely different in the minds of our prehistoric ancestors. Bacteria were not viewed as modern enemies to be eradicated, but as invisible, powerful allies that transformed and preserved food resources. They embraced the intense, pungent flavors of fermentation, a taste profile that modern processed foods have completely ironed out. A single mammoth frozen in a glacial bog could serve as a reliable, high-fat community refrigerator for multiple generations of nomadic tribes. Their relationship with decay was an elegant loop of survival, extracting life-saving energy from the very edge of decomposition. When you enjoy the sharp tang of pickles or aged cheese today, you are literally tasting a survival technology invented in the deep past. Nothing was ever wasted. Every ounce of skin, fat, bone marrow, and organ was completely consumed to honor the sacrifice of the catch. The ancient palate was incredibly broad, adapted to find nutrition in places that would make a modern stomach violently turn. The same hands that crafted delicate musical instruments from bones were the hands that cracked open human skulls for ritual consumption. Their dietary choices were deeply pragmatic, dictated by the absolute, uncompromising rule of absolute caloric necessity. These bizarre and haunting historical truths remind us that human survival required a level of raw grit that modern humans can barely comprehend. This evolutionary saga leaves us with a highly fascinating, ironic contrast between our past and our hyper-modern present. If you were to suddenly drop a modern human back into the ancient wilderness, they would likely starve to death within days due to a lack of survival skills. But if you placed a primitive caveman right in front of your open, fully stocked refrigerator, they would genuinely think they had stepped into a divine paradise. We are officially the very first generation in a 3 million-year history of human evolution that does not live in constant fear of daily hunger. Hence, cravings you feel for fat, sugar, and meat are not personal failures. They are the ancient, echoing whispers of our survival history. Our bodies are beautiful living museums of prehistoric victories, carrying the physical programming of millions. Every single bite of food we take today connects us back to an unbroken chain of fire, tools, grit, and incredible biological resilience. We have successfully conquered the ancient food chain, transformed the entire planet, and created a world of unimaginable nutritional abundance. So the next time you enjoy a simple meal, take a quiet moment to honor the long, dangerous journey it took for your DNA to get here. Celebrate the abundance of your modern reality, for you are the living dream of a million starving hunters who walked before you.